What's up everybody, this is Yuvajyoti from HackCert, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at malwares. So in this video we'll be taking a look at the different types of malwares that are there, and we'll be discussing in detail as to how they can infect the system, what they will be able to do in the system, and also how we can prevent these types of malwares. Alright, so let's begin. Alright, so starting off with viruses. Now if you look, just go ahead and ask a common person who does not have much knowledge about computers and especially malwares, then he generally says that every type of a malware is a virus. In common man's terminology, no term like malware exists, but everybody thinks that malwares are actually viruses, but actually this isn't the case. Virus is actually a type of malware. A computer virus is a type of malicious software that, when executed, replicates itself by modifying other computer programs and inserting its own code. When this replication succeeds, the affected services or areas are then called as infected with a computer virus. Alright, so it can come into your system by any sort of a means. Let's say you downloaded software from an let's say untrusted source or something, or unofficial source, or maybe somebody sent you a malware via any file sharing service, or maybe via email or WhatsApp or anything, and you just trusted that person and simply executed that malware in your computer, and it simply infected the system. Now there can be severe damage to the system they infect. Some viruses have even caused billions of dollars worth of losses to companies that they have infected. So you can just imagine what kind of a damage these types of viruses can do. As you can see, many viruses that are there in the world have caused a lot of damage, not just to companies but to many individuals as well. So in order to stay safe, one of the best suggestion that I always give, and that will always be given in the field of cybersecurity, is that don't download any sort of files from unknown sources or the spam emails that come to you, and just download the file from the official location, that's it, or official website, that's it. Alright, if you can't afford a software that is paid, then just go ahead and search for the alternatives. Why are you searching for the cracked version of that paid software? Don't download it. There are many alternatives of many softwares. Go and download those ones. In the second place, we have something known as worms. Now a worm is a standalone malware computer program that replicates itself in order to spread to other computers. Often it uses a computer network to spread itself, relying on security failures on the target computer to access it. Worms almost always cause at least some harm to the network, even if only by consuming bandwidth, whereas viruses almost always corrupt or modify files on a target computer. So this particular definition gives you a definition or what a worm is, and also it also gives you a clean or a clear difference between worms and viruses. Many people get confused as to what these two are, and they easily aren't able to differentiate between viruses and worms. But keep in mind that worms are something else and viruses are something else. A virus, if it infects your computer, it will generally corrupt the files that are there, whereas a worm, if it infects your computer, then it will try to spread itself to other computers that are there in the same network as your computer, and it will simply eat up the bandwidth. Alright, so it will make your internet connection slow, and it may cause even damage as well. So one of the biggest examples of worms is I Love You, and I think it originated in Philippines back in the early 2000s, and it seriously caused a lot of damage back then. Up next, we have something known as Trojan. Now keep conception about Trojans much better, alright, because in future we will be taking a look at a lot of different types of Trojans that we will be using to gain access to systems. Alright, so a Trojan is a type of malware that infects the system in order for someone to gain access to the system. So it is basically a malware. Let's say if somebody sent you a Trojan, and if you executed that particular Trojan in your system, you won't see any sort of a change in your system, like you won't see your files getting corrupted or something, you won't see your internet connection going down or something. You won't see much of a change. But what will actually happen is that at the background, this software will always maintain a connection with the hacker's computer. So the hacker can access whatever is there inside your computer, and whatever files are there inside your computer. He can upload different types of other malwares as well, like backdoors or something, or he can download your personal files as well to his or her computer and maybe later bully you, alright? So once infected, a Trojan gives access of the machine to the hacker, and Trojans are mainly used by hackers to steal sensitive files from the system in which they have gained access in, and later maybe bully the victim, alright? Let's say you have a photo of you and your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and let's say the hacker just got access to that particular photo, and maybe nobody knows about your relationship status, and the hacker just made it public, alright? So you can see what kind of a damage can be caused because of these Trojans. And next we have something known as ransomware. A ransomware is a piece of malware that when executed in any system will basically encrypt all the files, rendering them unusable or useless. So if you don't know what encrypt, decrypt, encryption, decryption, all these things mean, then you can watch my video on encryption, decryption and hashes. It will be coming up in the I button on top. So you can go ahead and watch that video to know what these actually mean. In simple terms, encryption is basically a way to transfer or convert something that is in human understandable format to something that humans cannot understand, so that it can be transferred from one place to another. And this thing is done basically so that when data is transferred from one location to another, any hacker or any third person who is maybe sitting in the middle of your communication won't be able to retrieve those data and read it. And even if that person is able to get those data by some means or the other, he or she won't be able to understand what the meaning or what those data actually mean, alright? So a ransomware is a piece of malware that when executed in any system will basically encrypt all the files, rendering them unusable or useless. So let's say you have a photo or many other different types of personal files in a computer, and when you run a ransomware by mistake, obviously, then it will basically start to encrypt the files. Let's say you have a text document, let's say by the name of lesson.txt, and it will convert that text file to something known as abcdefgh.xyz. And obviously .xyz is a weird type of a format. It cannot be read by most of the softwares out there, so it will basically encrypt your file and it will render them useless. And it just does the same thing to all the files that are there inside your computer, except the exes, alright? One of the major ransomware that infected most of the companies or organizations or even common users as well is WannaCry ransomware. Its outbreak took place back in the early 2017, and it was stopped by someone named Marcus Hutchins. I hope that's the correct pronunciation. He's from UK, I believe, and he actually found a kill switch domain of this WannaCry ransomware, and then he basically registered that domain and it stopped the attack. So the countries that were mainly infected by this WannaCry ransomware were mainly Russia and UK. In the UK, the NHS was, or the National Health Service, I believe, was the most affected organization. And the organization or the NHS is basically an organization that maintains or is related to the hospitals or something, and the patient's data were not being able to were not retrieved very easily, and it caused a severe damage, alright? Let's say you go to a hospital, your loved ones are admitted over there, and due to some reason the computer in which their data is stored is that computer, or the person who is using that computer is not being able to retrieve the data of your loved ones who is admitted inside that hospital. So you can see that what kind of a damage it can do. And in order for you to get rid of a ransomware, it will basically, as I said, it will encrypt the files and it will give you a pop-up every time on your screen. It will ask you to pay a certain sum of money, and this transaction is mainly done using bitcoins. Don't expect them to give you their bank account info or something. They'll give you a bitcoin address or maybe any other cryptocurrency address, and they'll ask you to send a certain sum of money which is equivalent to Bitcoin. Like for example, in case of WannaCry ransomware, they demanded $300 worth of Bitcoin to a certain address, and if you pay that particular sum of money, then only you will get the decryption key, all right? And if you don't pay that money, then you won't get the decryption key. Now always remember that if you pay the decryption, if you pay the money, or if you pay the ransom, and if you think that you will get the decryption key, then don't expect such things. You may not get the decryption key as well. Don't expect a hacker or a criminal or a black hat hacker to do good things to you, all right? He or she will obviously be be in a mood to do bad to you. So in order for a person to get back his files, he or she needs to pay a certain sum of money to the hackers, and then only they can get back the decryption key, which I said is not possible under every circumstances. And the money they demand, or the money that the ransomware or the hackers behind the ransomware demand, is very high. As I said, $300 is a huge amount of money, and in countries that where the dollar to their respective currency ratio is very high, then it is much more difficult for them to pay as well. Like in India, $1 is close to 70 rupees as of now while recording this video. Through C37s are 21 and 000 21,000 rupees. So that's a huge amount of money for an average Indian to pay just to recover his or her computer files back. So you can understand from this how big a damage can a ransomware do, alright? So those were some of the different types of malwares that you see generally infecting different types of systems across the world. That's it for this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.